Hello and welcome to Clash of the Dice. I'm James, and once again there is no Joshua because it's currently easier to get a flesh hound to go full vegan than it is to get Joshua to put his Nintendo Switch down and play a tabletop game. So this is going to be another solo play 9th edition Warhammer 40K battle report, combat patrol, so 500 points per side, and I'm doing something I'm quite excited about. We're going to the year 444.M41. to the planet of Armageddon, the first war for Armageddon. Now, for those of you who know your 40k history, this was not the war for Armageddon which saw Commissar Yarrick, my favourite character from the whole of 40k lore, going up against Ghazghkull Thraka and his orcs. No, the first war for Armageddon was fought between the forces of Khorne, led by the demon Primarch Angron and his World Eaters, primarily against the Space Wolves and the Armageddon Steel Legion, and later the Grey Knights also turned up. This is going to be just a small snippet, a tiny fraction of the culminating battle that took place. To that end, I'm going to be using my Space Wolves. They're all first generation. There's no Primaris in there because Primaris weren't a thing in the first War for Armageddon. And we've also got some Demons of Khorne. Now, as I was putting this together, I was thinking about the idea of doing some of these videos is I get to know the rules a bit better, I get to know certain units a bit better, so I'm trying to keep the same army lists each time I do one of these videos. So I always use the same Space Wolves list, I always use the same Imperial Guard list, that sort of thing. And because of that, when I was putting this together, I thought this isn't really a Space Wolves army list that I would consider putting into a narrative style battle report, because it's not very narrative for the narrative that I'm trying to tell. But I'm trying to get to know the units, I'm trying to get to know the armies, I'm trying to get to know the rules. So I'm sticking with what I know, and hopefully I'll make fewer mistakes as I get to know these models, these units. And because I'm doing Space Wolves against Demons of Khorne, what better setting for it than the first war for Armageddon? So that's the justification. So if you've been watching these videos so far, you'll have already seen this list in action. They are being led by a captain with jump pack, who seasoned Space Wolves players would refer to as a Wolf Lord, not a captain. He is armed with lightning claws, and I've given him a relic, which is Frost Weapon, which is a Space Wolves specific one from their supplement, which turns those lightning claws into frost claws, which gives them +1 strength and +1 damage. In the edit, I've just realised I forgot to tell you what his Warlord trait is. His Warlord trait is Hunter, which is one of the Space Wolves specific ones, and he gets to add 1 to advance and charge rolls, and I'll try and remember that in this game because I forgot it in the last one. And he's also eligible to make a charge in a turn in which he advanced or fell back. He gets Deed of the Hunter if he successfully charges an enemy model, in which case he then gains the aura ability Saga of the Hunter, which means friendly Space Wolves core units within 6 inches of him are eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which they advanced, and any Space Wolves core units with the Swift Hunter's ability, so the Thunderwolf Cavalry, they can also declare a charge in a turn in which they fell back. It's a patrol detachment, so we need to have a unit of troops. So we've got a unit of Grey Hunters, and they are being led by both a Wolf Guard pack leader and a Grey Hunter pack leader, because you can have both in Grey Hunters packs and also several of the other Space Wolves packs. And upgrades for them, the Wolf Guard pack leader has got a Power Fist, one of the Grey Hunters has got a Plasma Gun, one of the Grey Hunters is carrying a Wolf Standard, which means every time we advance or charge and we roll a 1, we can re-roll any results of 1 for when they advance or charge. It's not WYSIWYG, but all of the Grey Hunters have got Astartes chainswords in addition, so I paid the points cost for them to have Astartes chainswords. The only exception being the Wolf Guard pack leader, who's got Power Fist. We've got a unit of 3 Thunderwolf Cavalry, and they are armed with lightning claws and storm shields, and as we saw in the previous video, that's quite a powerful combo if you get them with the Wolf Lord, the captain, so that he can give them re-rolling hit rolls of 1 because they are core. Yeah, they're re-rolling hit rolls of 1. When they charge, they're Space Wolves, so they're hitting on 2s, and the lightning claws allow them to re-roll failed wound rolls. So yeah, that's a pretty powerful combo. And then finally we've got a Rhino, and that's just a standard Rhino with a Stormbolter, and yeah, that is the Space Wolves. 499 points. Moving on to the Demons of Khorne. Now this is a bit of a first for me, in as much as I've only ever fought these guys in other game systems, most commonly Age of Sigmar, and they tend to get summoned in by Joshua when he bothers to play against me using his Blades of Khorne army. So yeah, I've never actually used them in 40k, so this is going to be interesting. They are being led by a Bloodmaster, a Herald of Khorne on foot, and he is the Warlord. His Warlord trait is Devastating Blow, so each time the Warlord fights he can make a single Devastating Blow attack instead of its normal close combat attacks, and if it does, you just make a single hit roll, and if that's successful, the target suffers D3 mortal wounds. His relic is the Armour of Scorn, which gives him a 4-up invulnerable save, and we can attempt to deny 1 psychic power in the enemy psychic phase, which there isn't going to be one because I didn't bring a Librarian, otherwise known as a Rune Priest. We've got a unit of 10 Bloodletters for the Troops' Choice. They're all obviously armed with Hellblades. We've got an Instrument of Chaos in there and a Demonic Icon. We've got a unit of 3 Blood Crushers, the dudes mounted on the Juggernauts, and again they've got an Instrument of Chaos and a Demonic Icon. We've got a brand new unit that I have never used before at all, in the shape of 5 Flesh Hounds. Painted them up specifically for this series of games. So in there we've got a Flesh Hound, and the Sergeant equivalent is a Gore Hound, and basically he's got an 8-inch range auto-hitting flame attack, if you like. He's the one with the bigger mane. And then finally, what some people say is the least corny Khorne unit, got Skull Cannon. Khorne cares not from where the blood flows, even if it flows from 48 inches away, by shooting skulls at people. Some would say that those skulls belong on the skull throne, but hey ho, it is what it is. So yeah, that is 500 points on the nose of Khorne Demons. Let's move on to the mission. We're using open war cards, and this time again I've selected these rather than drawing them at random. So we've got War of Attrition, just kill stuff. These are 2 armies that don't mess around with objectives. The forces of Khorne are trying to break into the city at all costs. The Space Wolves are trying to fight them off at all costs. So there is no objective. The objective is survival. The objective is destroy the enemy. And we're using the classic hammer and anvil style deployment. So War of Attrition is basically you get points at the end of the game for the power ratings. We're using it says you can use points or power. I'm going for power ratings. The power ratings of the enemy units that you destroy. Nice and simple. The action will take place here along the outskirts of the breached walls of Hive Infernus. The Space Wolves will set up inside defending the Hive City, and the Demons of Khorne will head in from this battle edge here. You can see the breach in the walls that have been wrought by Angron and his World Eaters, and you've got to imagine that these walls stretch off for miles to the left and miles to the right, and it says in the lore that Logan Grimnar specifically chose his battleground so that it would expose as few people as possible to the knowledge of the Chaos Demons. So this is a sector that is not protected by the Steel Legion of Armageddon, and further along the battle lines the Space Wolves are embattled with the traitor Astartes, but here Angron has sent in his Khorne Demons, and a small sector is being defended by the Space Wolves, who will repel them, it is hoped. And we are deployed. There is nothing in Deep Strike Reserve in any way, shape or form on either side. Khorne won the deployment roll-off, so they deployed a unit first and they deployed their cavalry right smack in the middle. And then we alternated back and forth. So we've got the cavalry in the centre, the flesh hounds on the flank, and then down here at the back we've got the skull cannon, along with the bloodletters and the blood master. And then for the space wolves, over here we've got the rhino, which is empty. We've got the thunderwolf cavalry, and then forming a defensive line in this building are the grey hunters with the captain, the wolf lord. Now, quick note about terrain. The ruins are ruins. The ruined walls are ruined walls, the barricades are barricades, and the craters are craters. Now, there is a little bit of a caveat to this. I mean, these walls, they do have the obscuring rule for ruined walls, but obscuring only really works if they're more than 5 inches high, and these are 4 7/8 of an inch high. Yeah, I built these way before 9th edition was a thing. These are definitely bigger than 5 inches. These are about 8-9 inches. However, I'm going to say that you can see through this big gap, because otherwise it doesn't make a lot of sense. Yes, there's smoke, yes, there's dust and all the rest of it, but that is a pretty big opening. But obviously you can't shoot through the windows are obscured. But yeah, this big gap here is yeah, you can draw a line of sight through it. Right, so that being said, we'll roll off to see who gets the choice of first turn. I'm pretty sure you can guess which dice is which. So we've got a 3 for the Space Wolves and a 2 for the Forces of Khorne. Now, given that these guys are a melee based army, they've only really got one gun, well, 2 guns, and the other one's an 8-inch flamer weapon. I think we will let Khorne come to us, bring them into the range of our holy bolters. So we're going into Khorne, turn 1. We're actually at the end of Khorne Demons, turn 1, everything advanced. Just going to pause here a moment, and I'm going to start to call these learning moments, and learning moments more for myself than for anybody else. I'm not going to be calling them mistakes from now on, they're learning moments. You'll notice that the Flesh Hounds are currently sat on top of the ruined walls, because when I was being really clever and saying, oh, ruins are ruins, and ruined walls are ruined walls, and craters are craters, and etc, etc. Yeah, when I actually started playing the game, I completely forgot that ruined walls have the unstable position rule, which means you can't set models up or end a move on top of them. So yeah, effectively for game terms that doesn't really matter, because I just treated them as ruins effectively, and the ruins and ruined walls are almost the same in terms of the rules that they have. So yeah, just going forward, bear in mind that those ruined walls are no longer ruined walls, they are simply ruins, and all of the modifiers and everything that I applied during the game are appropriate for ruins, not ruined walls. Anyway, back to the game. And we're already onto the second line of breached walls. But there's nothing in charge range, and even if there was, we couldn't charge it because everything advanced. With the exception of the skull cannon. The skull cannon fired at the grey hunters in that building, and minimum of 3 shots, and we actually generated 3 shots. 2 of them hit, both of them wounded, and because it's a skull cannon they don't get a cover save. But that doesn't really matter when you roll 6s for both of the saves, so no units killed in Khorne Demons turn 1. So moving into Space Wolves turn 1. In the command phase I spent a command point on the Space Wolves specific stratagem. Space Wolves specific stratagem, that's a lot of S's, which is go for the throat. What I meant to say was bestial nature. And what that does is it means Space Wolves cavalry, infantry and biker units count as being in the assault doctrine until my next command phase. And the reason for that is we're going to get charged by demons, and if we get charged by demons we want to be in the assault doctrine because that's what Space Wolves like. And on that note, yeah, I thought it'd be clever to deploy them up here where they've got a good commanding view of the battlefield so they can shoot stuff. But yeah, that would have made things really complicated when it came to charging and stuff like that. So ideally I should have deployed these guys down here in the first place so that they could then pop through the wall, rapid fire stuff and charge. But yeah, as it is, they've dropped down there and I've spent 2 command points on the stratagem that allows them to act as if they'd stayed still. So rapid fire goodness is still going to be a thing because they are more than 12 inches away at the minute, those flesh hounds. The rhino has moved round, kind of to act as a bit of fire support and a bit of a roadblock. But the other reason they dropped down is because the grey hunters, that is, the other reason the grey hunters and the captain dropped down is so that they now can't be seen by the skull cannon. Basically the skull cannon can't target anything, everything's out of line of sight. The Thunderwolf cavalry have moved up, ready to defend against any threats coming through here, but also possibly as a counter charge. So that is the end of the movement phase, and we're going to go into the shooting phase where we're going to open up on the gore hounds, the flesh hounds. We started the shooting phase off with the grey hunters. The plasma gun overcharged into the flesh hounds and would have killed one outright, except the corn demons spent 2 command points on warp surge to get their 5 up invulnerable save to a 4 up invulnerable save, and that did indeed save one of the flesh hounds. The bolters then opened fire, and through a combination of the grey hunters bolters and the storm bolter on the rhino, we took out 2 of the flesh hounds and took one down to 1 wound left. And I then thought for a very long time, do I charge them with the rhino to kind of plug the gap a little bit? But then I decided to not to in the end. Rightly or wrongly, I don't know. Well, time will tell as to whether or not that was a good idea. In the leadership phase, the flesh hounds had lost 2, so I rolled for leadership for them and they got a natural 1. So I don't know if that bodes good or ill for these 2 units, the Blood Crushers and the Bloodletters, that both have demonic icons, because that would have brought some models back. But Flesh Hounds can't take demonic icons. So that is the end of the Space Wolves turn 1. In fact, that's the end of Battle Round turn 1. No units completely wiped out on either side as we go into Khorne turn 2. The Bloodletters and the Bloodmaster have advanced and have finally broken the second line of defence fortifications in the form of the ruined walls. The Skull Cannon advanced in an effort to try and find a better firing arc and rolled a 1, and I was tempted for a minute to spend a command point to re-roll it, but you know, there's other things I might need command points for. So yeah, over here the Blood Crushers have moved forwards and are now in charge range of the Rhino, and the Flesh Hounds have moved forwards as well and are now in charge range quite easily of the Grey Hunters. So going into the shooting phase, because the Gorehound has an assault weapon, so even though it didn't advance, it's still going to shoot, and yeah, it's going to shoot at the Grey Hunters. Burning Roar did no damage to the Grey Hunters. So going into the charge phase, the Flesh Hounds are going to charge the Grey Hunters, and the Grey Hunters are going to adopt the position of being able to overwatch on 5-ups because they're in defensible terrain, and the Blood Crushers are going to charge the Rhino. But obviously, like I just said, the overwatch is going to come from the Grey Hunters. At the end of the charge phase, one of the Flesh Hounds died to overwatch and one was reduced to 1 wound left. That's even with the plasma gun overcharging. We did get quite a few hits with the bolt guns, but the plasma gun missed both times, even though it was overcharged, but no ones were rolled. and obviously both charges were made. So going into the fight phase, the Khorne Demons are going to spend another 2 command points on Warp Surge to get their invulnerable save back to a 4+, and you have to do that at the start of the phase. And just to clarify, that's going on the Flesh Hounds. So yeah, going into the fight phase, obviously charging units go first, but I'm trying to work out if I can heroically intervene with my Wolf Lord. I'm pretty sure I can. I'll have to just double check the rules. No, he can't heroically intervene because he's more than 3 inches away. Only just. It's like 3 inches and a gnat's whisker. But yeah, I did check and double check. I thought that Space Wolf's characters could heroically intervene 6 inches, but I might be confusing them with somebody else. I can't find it. If I am mistaken and Space Wolf's characters can indeed heroically intervene 6 inches, please let me know in the comments. But yeah, from what I can see, I was mistaken. They cannot heroically intervene 6 inches. So, charging units go first. We will start with, let's start with the Flesh Hounds. That seems to be the most interesting one. You'll notice a distinct lack of Flesh Hounds. That's because they attacked the Grey Hunters, put 1 wound on 1 Grey Hunter, and then the Grey Hunters fought back, and the Astartes chainsaws took them out before the Wolfguard pack leader could even get a look in with his Power Fist. One of these days he'll get a chance to use that. And the Grey Hunters have then consolidated out of the ruins towards the Blood Crushers. The Blood Crushers initially took 2 wounds off the Rhino. The Rhino fought back, did nothing in return, and then we spent 3 command points for the Blood Crushers to fight again, and they took a further 5 wounds off it, so it's down to 3 wounds left. Now that will be the end of Khorne turn 2. There's no morale to take anywhere, so going into Space Wolves turn 2. In the command phase, we spent a command point on Bestial Nature. I might have said Go for the Throat earlier, if so I meant to say Bestial Nature. It's again a 1 command point Space Wolf stratagem, which means we act as if we are in the Assault Doctrine rather than being in the Tactical Doctrine, which we currently are. So with it being turn 2, the Thunderwolf Cavalry have advanced, and they got a 6 on their advance, and even with the -2 to movement going through the rough terrain, the difficult terrain, they still got up close and personal with these bloodletters. The Rhino has reversed out of combat, and the Wolf Lord has jumped over behind the Blood Crushers. So going into the shooting phase, the Grey Hunters are going to open fire on the Blood Crushers. The Wolf Lord is probably going to throw a grenade in, just for good measure, and there'll be no other shooting because the Rhino fell back and these guys advanced. Very quick amendment. I was just looking at the toughness for the Blood Crushers, and I realised that they should have had attacks from the Juggernauts as well. I forgot to do the Juggernaut attacks, 2 lots of them in fact. So I very quickly did those, and hoping and praying it wouldn't destroy the Rhino, and it didn't. Out of the 2 lots of all of the Blood Crusher attacks, the Juggernaut attacks rather, we just stripped 1 more wound off. So I rectified the wound dice, and that also meant it was in its lowest bracket, which means it could only reverse 3 inches instead of 6. So I've hoiked it back a little bit. So that's that caught. So let's go on with the shooting phase. And I was looking at the toughness because the Wolf Lord has just lobbed a crack grenade in at them. The Wolf Lord's crack grenade did nothing. So moving on to the Grey Hunters, the rapid firing plasma gun supercharged again, overcharged, and took 2 wounds off the Musician. And the Wolfguard pack leader then finished it off with another crack grenade. The rapid firing bolt guns, we're now in the Tactical Doctrine. They managed to strip 2 wounds off the Sergeant equivalent, and yeah, that'll be the end of the shooting phase. So charge phase, we're going to charge in with the Wolf Lord. He's not going to fail. The Grey Hunters are going to charge the Blood Crushers as well, so Wolf Lord and Grey Hunters going into the Blood Crushers. And over here they're going to find it very difficult to fail, but the Thunderwolf Cavalry are going to charge the Bloodletters. and not that anything can Overwatch, but yeah, the Khorne Demons don't currently have any command points, and neither do the Space Wolves. Yep, all charges successfully made across the board, and with that done, and no command points for Khorne to interrupt with, let the slicing and dicing of demons commence. Just because I wanted him to have a chance to punch something with his power fist, I started things off with the Wolfguard pack leader, and he finished off the blood crusher that was on 2 wounds left. And then the rest of the Grey Hunters only took 1 wound off one of the other, the last remaining blood crusher. So then the Wolf Lord had to finish it off with his lightning claws, and they've then consolidated, and it's a good thing we did, because that brought the Wolf Lord within 6 inches of the Thunderwolves. The Thunderwolves fought the Bloodletters and killed 7 in total, and then the 3 remaining ones fought back, killed one of the Thunderwolves and put one down to one wound left. So that will be the end of the fight phase. So I need to do leadership on the Bloodletters. The Thunderwolf cavalry would automatically pass. Should have said that the Bloodmaster was out of range for heroic intervention, and even if he was in range, he would have struggled to get around the Bloodletters at the end of the charge phase. But anyway, that's by the by. Rolled a 5 for leadership. Obviously, I was kind of hoping for a 1, so we could get some Bloodletters blinking back into existence, but no. So one of them ran away, and then combat attrition, another one blinked out of existence. Yeah, I can't say Bloodletters ran away. They succumbed to the failing might of Khorne around them. So going into turn 3, there are 3 Khorne models left on the battlefield. Khorne have lost 2 complete units, and very close to losing a 3rd, whereas the Space Wolves have lost 1 model. So Khorne, turn 3. It's the end of the Khorne movement phase, and I realised that when the Bloodletters failed their leadership check in the last round, yeah, I got rid of the wrong model. I left the standard bearer on, and he only gets one attack, where the sergeant equivalent gets 2 attacks. And if they, yeah, essentially they're not going to fail another leadership test, so I didn't need the standard bearer. So I very graciously allowed myself to swap them back, because nothing had happened since. So yeah, we've now got the sergeant equivalent back instead of the banner bearer. So what's this guy called? The Blood Reaper, the champion. The Blood Master has closed in just outside of engagement range. The Skull Cannon has stayed still. I did consider moving him, because there's a nice tasty target here of a rhino with 2 wounds left. However, at the moment, line of sight to it is completely blocked, but he's still got a couple of choice targets, not least of which is the Captain / Wolf Lord, and also the Grey Hunters. Now, ooh, microphone cable's catching on it. The Skull Cannon is not a vehicle, and it's not a monster. And it's only things, as I understand it, monsters and vehicles, those key words, that ignore the moving and firing heavy weapons penalty. It's a chariot, not a vehicle. It hasn't got the vehicle or monster keyword. So if it had moved, it would be shooting on 4s instead of 3s. So it stayed still. And in the shooting phase, which is coming up now, I think we're going to try and shoot the Warlord of the Space Wolves. He's out in the open. There's nothing that would obstruct the shot, so look out sir doesn't apply. Yeah, and I figured they'd probably stand more chance of killing him than they do of wiping out the Grey Hunters. And at the moment, the Space Wolves are 10 points in the lead. I've quickly totted up how much power the Space Wolves have killed, and they've killed 10 powers worth of models, whereas Khorne haven't destroyed any units at all yet. So yeah, strong emphasis this turn on trying to take out some units. So yeah, the Thunderwolf cavalry are a prime target, and let's see if we can take out the enemy warlord as well. At the end of the shooting phase, very nearly. This is why you shouldn't rely too heavily on Math Hammer, because I did the Math Hammer and I figured we'd maybe put 3 wounds on the Wolf Lord. Yeah, I rolled a 6 for number of shots because it's heavy d6. All 6 hit and 4 of them wounded. It's wounding on 2s, mind, so yeah, we had 2 1s in there, so I spent a command point to re-roll one of the 1s, and it was another 1, so there were still 4 wounds. And captains have got a 4-up and vulnerable save. This thing is AP -2, and we rolled 2 1s and a 2 and a 4, so 3 of the wounds got through, and they're d3 damage each. Yeah, that was 6 wounds. Space Marine captains only get 5, so that's a dead warlord. So anywho, this guy can't fail his charge because he's practically in engagement range already. So in the charge phase, this thing is going to charge in on the Thunderwolf cavalry, and I don't think I'm going to use his warlord ability, which is the one where you roll a dice, and in his case it would be on a 2-up, he would do d3 mortal wounds. I'm just going to go for the standard attacks, because again, we want to try and do as many wounds to this thing as we can. So, and I think that's the best chance he's got. Even though they've got storm shields, so 4-up and vulnerable saves, I still think, yeah, victory goes to he who rolls the most dice, I think. So yeah, we'll just do the standard attacks. Yeah, he's angry, he wants vengeance, he wants blood for the blood god. He took down the Thunderwolf cavalry on 1 wound left, and you'll notice this one is on 1 wound left as well, and that's because he rolled some 6s to wound, and one of them was not saved, so that's a flat 3 damage. So yep, Thunderwolf cavalry 4 wounds each. The last remaining one, the pack leader, is down to 1 wound left. He will now get a chance to fight because it's an ongoing combat and he's the defender, and he's going to have a go at that last remaining blood letter, the Blood Reaper. Yep, that pack leader managed to finish off the Blood Reaper. So in the end, it didn't really matter whether I had left in the standard bearer or not. But yeah, interesting. As I was doing the attacks, I realised that yeah, it's a Space Marine. It was charged in this turn, so even though he's not attacking the unit that that charged him, he still gets an extra attack and all the extra stuff that goes with the fact that he's a Space Marine that was charged this turn. So yeah, I can't see anywhere in the rules that says that only counts if you're attacking the model that actually charged you. It simply says if you were charged, did charge or performed an heroic intervention this turn, and that did happen. So yeah, that's my understanding, that's my interpretation, that's what I'm going with. Right, so that will be the end of the turn. The Thunderwolf cavalry would automatically pass leadership because they're leadership 8. So yeah, there'll be no morale to take. So going on to Space Wolves turn 3. It's the end of the Space Wolves movement phase. The Thunderwolf cavalry has backed out of combat, and the Grey Hunters have moved into the building here, so that yeah, they're going to be a bit more tricky for that skull cannon to shoot at, and in the meantime they're going to shoot at the Bloodmaster. The Rhino has reversed again, and again I'm going to say it can shoot at the Bloodmaster because that's quite an open area there. But yeah, some people might be shouting coward to the Thunderwolf cavalry, but no, he's being tactically clever. There's no point in him dying a glorious death when he can survive and let his brothers hunt the demon. Yeah, he doesn't want to die in vain. Right, so going into the shooting phase, the Grey Hunters and the Rhino are going to shoot at the Bloodmaster. Now it's turn 3, and I forgot to say whether I was staying in tactical or moving into assault doctrine, and I decided to stay in tactical because we're going to be shooting a lot of bolt weaponry and rapid fire weaponry. So yeah, we stayed in tactical, and we've managed to take 2 wounds off the Bloodmaster. One of those from bolt guns and one from the storm bolter on the Rhino, oddly enough. The plasma gun hit and wounded, but this thing's now got a 4-up and vulnerable save because of its relic. So 2 wounds to get through. Now I'm now thinking about charging, in which case I'm regretting my choices for staying in the tactical doctrine. But yeah, that would need to be a 9-inch charge because we're going through difficult terrain. So I think I'm going to declare a charge with the Grey Hunters, and let's see how we get on. Yep, they make it. That's a 10. So they're going to be charging that Bloodmaster. For all that I said earlier, that Wolfguard pack leader with the Power Fist doesn't very often get a chance to use it. When you give him a chance to use it, he really goes to town. So far he's taken down a Blood Crusher and now a Bloodmaster, because I fought with him first because the Bloodmaster only had 2 wounds left. Power Fist does flat 2 damage. Yep, Bloodmaster is nowhere to be seen. He's been banished back to the warp, and then the Grey Hunters consolidated behind this wall out of line of sight of the Skull Cannon. So that will be the end of battle round 3, and Forces of Khorne now have some points on the board, but the Space Wolves have even more points on the board. So yeah, moving into round 4, I'm reasonably certain it's not mathematically possible for a Skull Cannon to bring it back, but we shall see. This is the end of Khorne turn 4, and yeah, now it definitely can't be done. Skull Cannon's got a relatively clear shot right the way down to that Thunderwolf cavalry. You'll notice it's still there. We rolled 5 for number of shots, which I thought, great. 4 of them hit, so I re-rolled the 1 miss, and that hit, so 5 of them hit. Of those 5 hits, 4 of them wounded, and all 4 saved on 5s and 6s. And the Thunderwolf cavalry's got a Storm Shield, so 4 of them vulnerable save. So yeah, that's about as much as the Khorne Demons can do. We will quickly go through Space Wolves turn 4, because, you know, just for being thorough. It's the end of Space Wolves turn 4. Thunderwolf cavalry backed around the corner, so it's definitely out of line of sight because of this obscuring terrain. The Grey Hunters have moved forwards, and -2 to movement for moving through difficult terrain. And yeah, we fired in at the Skull Cannon. You can see it's got 2 wounds left. The plasma gun overcharged, hit and wounded both times, and neither shots were saved with the invulnerable save. So that was 4 wounds gone straight away. And then we managed to get another wound off with bolt gun fire. So yeah, 7 wounds in total, down to 2 remaining. 5 wounds inflicted, obviously. And I then tried to charge them. They needed a 10. They got a 9 even after a re-roll. So yeah, the highest they got was a 9, so I haven't managed to get in there for close combat. So that will get us to the end of turn 4. So may as well do turn 5 for how long it's going to take. And here we are at the end of battle round 5. The Khorne turn was over pretty quick. It fired in at the Grey Hunters and killed the 1-on-1 wound left. So then in the Space Wolves turn, Space Wolves simply moved forward, and the plasma gun finished off the Skull Cannon. Or I should say, just for laughs, I did try charging the Skull Cannon at the Grey Hunters, but the charge failed. At the time, the Space Wolves didn't have any command points for Overwatch. But yeah, that was that. That is the Khorne Demons wiped out from this particular sector of Hive Infernus here in the First War for Armageddon. So a good narrative end to kind of a narrative battle. The final score was 22 points to the Space Wolves and 6 points to the Demons of Khorne. So yeah, all in all, that was an enjoyable little battle. Yeah, like I say, not the best narrative list to bring for this particular game of Space Wolves versus Demons of Khorne. I don't have any World Eaters. In fact, the only Chaos Space Marines, going a bit croaky, the only Chaos Space Marines I've got are Plague Marines, and I haven't yet bought the 9th edition Codex for Death Guard. It's on my to-do list. But yeah, what I probably would have done would have been, if I was making it more narrative, change that to its Predator configuration, not bothered with these guys, and brought more of them. So yeah, no Rhino, change it for a Predator, no Thunderwolf cavalry, more Grey Hunters. And I probably wouldn't have brought the captain with his jump pack, I probably would have bought a battle leader, aka a lieutenant, maybe a rune priest, aka a librarian. But yeah, at the time, like I say, I'm trying to get used to the units, trying to get the rules fixed in my head. For the basic gameplay rules, which you will probably have noticed, I still make the odd mistake here and there. But that's what this is. It's a learning exercise for me, and hopefully a learning exercise for you. If I can point out the mistakes, then yeah, you won't be making the same ones, I hope. And equally, if you spot any mistakes that I've made, please feel free to point them out. But yeah, all in all, that was a good little game. I enjoyed that. And yeah, the other reason, I would probably have liked to have brought a bigger army, you know, a bigger game in total. So is it an incursion, the next one up from a combat patrol? But I've only got 600 points of Khorne Demons at the minute. Yeah, so I've got another unit of Bloodletters on top of what you saw, and that's it for Khorne Demons. And yeah, like I say, I've got no World Eaters, no other Chaos Space Marines. I would like to do a Word Bearers army at some point based on the old PC game Chaos Gate. So yeah, that's what I'd like to do. But anyway, I'm rambling and waffling, and in the meantime, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, so until next time, please continue to like, comment and subscribe, and God bless.